right. Thanks for joining us. How has today been? Pretty awesome, right? Really great. Yeah, it's a fabulous location. I've had some really great conversations. So what we're trying to do in these sessions right now is help each other become better business people. And I've brought a couple of my friends here to share some insight. So we have some questions we're going to pose to each other, to you. So I have Colton and Rob here, who are two experts. I'll let you guys just introduce yourself a little bit. Rob, you want to go first?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name's Rob Solomon with Ascent 360. I'm based in Golden, Colorado. I am a mountain bike rider and a lover of all things outdoors. It's great to be here.
Hi everyone, my name is Colton Rice. I work for specialty commerce platform Quivers. I also am a big cyclist, mountain biking for sure. And then I'm from Utah and we just got 14 inches of snow yesterday, so now I'm a skier.
14 inches.
Yes. I know. Bike season's over now, I guess.
Yeah.
So we've been talking a lot about the bike boom the past 18 months, 20 months now. All these new riders, how we're engaging with them, how we're communicating, how we're using data. Is that apple cider or is that beer? No, I'm joking. So, we want to talk about a little bit how we're communicating with customers, how we're creating an experience that customers remember, that they come back to us, to you for, how we make sure that we're authentic in our communication, and how we're making that customer experience above and beyond anything that we've ever thought of before. So that's a little bit what I want to get into today. Just show of hands, who uses a point of sale system in their store? All right. Who uses any sort of data or looks at your data to analyze how you're doing? Anyone educate your staff members on what your sales goals are for each month? A little bit. Does anyone use a chat function on your website to communicate with customers? Yeah. Does anyone do work with like Beeline Connect or any brands that you do just assembly and you're paid for assembly? No. These are some questions, just getting an idea of who's in the audience and what the feel is. I know, Colton, you just gave a presentation, but for anyone who didn't see it, could you talk about what Quivers is?
Yeah, sure. Quivers is a commerce platform that we basically tie in brand and retailer inventory to make all products available everywhere, whether it be for sale in your store or is it available online, and we route all the orders for fulfillment through localized shops. It's a really cool way for brands to sell direct to consumer while including shops in the sale of their product.
Does anyone use locally? How has the experience been? You feel like you're reaching more customers? Does everyone know what locally is? Yes, yeah, and it's free for retailers to list on it. So just another way to be found. A lot of them are doing the SEO for you. They're helping make sure that your store is optimized. So really great stuff. Anyone emailing their customers and emailing specific customers based on their purchase history? Can you tell us about Ascent 360?
You were leading.
How about that lead-in?
Good segue.
Nice work. Nice work. Ascent 360 is the integrated data-driven marketing platform for bike retailers and bike brands. So we help retailers by bringing together all your separate sources of customer data, which is all extremely valuable, but putting it into one platform that's easy to see and, more importantly, easy to use to tailor communications to your customers based on exactly who they are, how they're purchasing from you, what they're interested in. Basically getting the right message to the right person at the right time. The old practice was just to blast everybody with the same stuff 3 or 4 times a month, and we all know from firsthand experience people don't pay attention to that so much. But a data-driven email or a data-driven behavior-based communication really shows that you know who your customers are. It shows that you care about them. It's bringing the relationship that you've built inside the store and taking that outside into the real world, whether that's through email, through social advertising, through direct mail, or actually by making a phone call to the right person with the right message. And that's what Ascent 360 is all about, helping our partners and retailers do.
Yeah, so I've only gotten to know the team at Ascent 360 over the past couple months, but when I owned a shop, we always had, tell me if you've done this at some point, you know, the email list, the piece of paper next to the cash and wrap that people can give you their email address that also turns into like the thing that you test the pens on and whatever, it gets nasty. Who's collecting email addresses? How often, all right, show of hands, who reaches out via email to their email list once a month? More than once a month? How much? Like, what should we be collecting? What data should we be collecting, and how often?
You should be collecting as much data as you can at every point that you're working with your customer. Not so you can blast them all with stuff that they're not interested in, but more as a customer service to them. If you know who they are and you can get in touch with them, you can send them the suggestion on how to change a bike tire. You can recommend that they should bring their shock in for service after a year's gone by that they haven't brought their shock in from then. You can provide information about races and about club rides, all that kind of information that your customers want from you because they love you, because they came to your shop and you're a pillar of the community, and they know who you are, and that type of communication is the type of communication your customers want to get.
It's kind of nerve-wracking to be at the cash register asking someone to give you their email address, like especially if they buy just a tube or something. How often are we asking for this information? Every time? Anyone else have any pro tips they're using to get the information, or how often? Great point. Who uses a loyalty program?
If you just provide a reason, and I think you said it too, which is if you're providing a reason why you're collecting their data, not so you can put them on some giant list and send them a bunch of crap, but there's a reason, people are much more likely to share and be open about it. I'll also say I work at a retail shop about 2-3 times a month myself, just to keep some boots on the ground.
Philip, you made a great point that when a customer comes in, you can then tell them what tires they bought last time, and you have this rich history of them, which offers you the opportunity to create an experience for them, which is memorable. But I never thought about this. I like to drink wine, and I'm part of a loyalty program at my local wine store, and they actually told me that if someone came in knowing that I go there, they could say, can you look up Heather and see what she buys or what she likes, which was really interesting to me. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I like that, actually. So someone could be buying a gift from me and get information. Colton, what are you thinking? I can see you're over there.
Yeah, I've just kind of been thinking about what you were talking about, Philip, with, you know, you have all your customers' purchasing history, which I think is really awesome, by the way. There's a ton of data you can use in there to deliver really curated messaging. But I'm curious about new customer acquisition. It seems like a lot of your customers might be repeat customers, and you might get some stragglers every now and then for like a tube or something like that.
It's more important that how you treat your current customers, because they are the source of your future customers.
Everyone is on Google My Business. Everyone's signed up. Everyone has checked like their Apple listing, Apple Maps listing. I mean, the Pointy, the Locally, things like Quivers. That's free for retailers to sign up, right?
Yeah,
and why
totally
would
free.
someone want to do that? And I'm not trying to sell anything. Like, you know, we want you to be found as, you know. So why would someone?
Yeah, sure. So Quivers is unique in the situation where we connect the retailer to the brands that they carry in their shop. Someone might make a sale or make a purchase on a brand's website, but then choose to possibly pick it up in a store, you know, for curbside pickup or ship to store models where they have to go into a physical location to get that item, or choose to go into the store to pick up an item. And that's where we kind of come in, where we allow a brand to sell direct to consumer, but including retailers in the fulfillment. So basically it's an amazing way for retailers to basically capitalize on all the marketing efforts that your brands are doing. So like you said, Phil, you spend nothing on marketing, $0. You can continue to spend $0, but capitalize on the millions of dollars your brands are using to market themselves to get more sales for your shop is basically how Quivers works.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't want to do that, right?
No, yeah, I mean, and totally free for retailers to be on there too. So, yeah.
So we talked about events and being active in your community. Who does group rides here? Who has group rides from the shop? Tried to. Who has found like a really great way to connect with their community? Who, share something you've done. So he's a location people can donate bikes and they fix them up for the community. That's awesome. What is something that you've done? Not much. Who has their shop on Strava? Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? You can post rides, you can follow things. You know, People for Bikes has the Ride Spot app that I've heard some stuff about.
Can I make a suggestion too?
Yeah.
So I had a local shop that I just continually went to all the time. I moved and I still went there. And I was starting to get tired of it. And the way I discovered a new shop was obviously social media is a hugely powerful tool, but I would go to these shops because they were holding demos for the bikes they would carry. So that was a big way as a bike nerd to get me into the shop because the brands they're carrying, the people who are potentially customers getting hands-on experience with that product got me into the shop because I wanted to ride those bikes. That was personally, that's what got me into a bunch of different shops where I live.
Does anyone have a YouTube channel? So we have Bicycle Retail Radio. That's our podcast at the NBDA. We interviewed Jeff Cayley, who's the owner of Worldwide Cyclery. Anyone heard of Worldwide Cyclery? Online and in-store. Great business. Why? They're the experts. They make content. They put it on YouTube. People go, and they end up buying it from them.
I love Worldwide Cyclery.
I would say if you don't have a YouTube channel, sort of what Colton was hinting at, you can actually use your brand's YouTube content and link it directly, perhaps in an email that you're sending to your customers. Using that brand recognition, but also probably increasing your click-through rate and the attention that's your customers are placing on the ad, whatever you're sending them.
Exactly, and thank you for bringing that up. To my point I made earlier, all that content that your brands are producing, use that content to your advantage to get people into your store. Repost it, put it on your website, put it on your YouTube channel. I'm assuming most of you have social media presence for your shops, hopefully. But share that content that your brands are spending millions of dollars to make and make it your content because you carry that brand, it is now your content as well. If it gets people excited online to check out the bikes, it'll get them excited to come into your shop and check it out. So definitely do that.
Philip, sorry, I got to ask you again. You said you use data, but I think from your application, I remember you also have sales goals, and you have KPI, key performance indicators.
I think just some performance indicators to look at when you're talking about data, being able to look at your customer base and saying, maybe having a goal of taking everybody that's only ever made one purchase in your store and saying, I want to reach out to those people and I'd like to convert 5% of the people who've only made one purchase. I want to get them back in to make a second purchase.
Did anyone have to close their doors and not allow customers in for any period of time over the past 20 months? Does everyone feel that everyone who purchased a bike from you over the past 20 months was able to get the full experience and browse all your accessories and know everything that they could have purchased? So that maybe this is a great time to reach back out if the store is set up again properly. Does anyone get nervous when someone comes in with a bike that was purchased online and they're asking you to assemble it? No. Colton,
if it's
any
a
thoughts
Walmart
around this?
Only if
Just
it's a
to-
Walmart bike.
I think that's
That's when we get. I used to work in a bike shop, and we would see like a Pacific or a Huffy or something, and we're just like, oh crap! Like working on some junk is not fun because it's never gonna work right.
Warn them at the very beginning and then raise the price.
Yeah, and then tell them, yeah, this is as good as it's gonna get, man. You should buy a legit bike from me.
I'll give you $50 off one of mine, and now you don't have to pay me $100 to fix it. I was just saying, we try to turn them into customers as like, I've had people literally come bring them in, and I'm like, I'm going to charge you $100 to do this, if not more.
And that's what they paid for it.
I'll give you $50 off a $500 bike. You know, just like it's one of our cheapest at the bottom line. But I know it's already put together everything else, and then they go return that. They'll come back and like they have a person to bring it to, everything else. And funny enough, they'll end up buying more. You know, they'll end up usually buying more stuff.
When they get a nice bike that they're proud of too, then they're psyched on biking. Yeah, and then they're gonna come back and be like, oh hey, like what else do I need?
We teach a lot of discovery at our.
I think
That's what you got to do.
How to
man.
ask questions that leads to better answers, right? So so that you can transfer that into better customers, right? Because if you ask enough questions, you know what they want.
even just spark their curiosity.
Way easier to pigeonhole them into what like a better item.
Yeah. If they don't pick up an extra bike or a new bike, but if you gave them tremendous customer service and you fix their flat and their squeaky brake, they're coming back.
This is a
and
good
you built
group.
a fan.
This is a good group. We know that we're not going to be negative. We're going to be positive. We're going to think of all the opportunity when we see someone coming in. We're going to expand that word cyclist a little bit more. What are the 4 components of a sale? 4 components of a sale. You guys should all be teaching your staff this. 4 components. Yeah, so the greeting is number 1, right? And then you qualify the customer, figure out what they're doing, what they need. Then you're the feature and benefit presenter of whatever. Look at this beautiful bike. Here's the features. Here's the benefits. And then what's the final part of the thank you? Yes, right? Yeah. This important stuff. I used to train my staff every staff meeting. We would actually role play it. It was integral.
Can I ask a follow-up question? How many of you guys sell used bikes in your shops? Couple? How's that market been doing? Pretty good, right? And I think that's an opportunity there too, because in my experience, there's a reason that person is riding that bike. It's because to them it's affordable. And if you already have, a few options of used bikes that are, not $1,000, you can say, hey, look, your $100 bike is going to cost $100 to fix, but I have this $250 bike that's going to last a lot longer. And you've just made a sale and engaged a customer and legitimately helped them with a better product, and you probably just got them pretty psyched on biking, so they're going to come back and buy more stuff. And obviously we don't want to push anything on them that they don't want, but what you've done is not only helped them, but you've created a cyclist in that moment. They're not just like, I just bought a bike at Walmart. They've got a bike they're proud of. They're going to come back and buy tubes and ask you questions. This is an opportunity to teach them, to provide maintenance. It all goes up from there. So I think there's a really huge opportunity with used bikes as well if you can get your hands on them.
Has anyone considered the different types of customers that you're taking care of and their personas, and have those groups changed over time, or do you have new ones now that you didn't 18 months ago?
Great question. I think he's smart.
Yeah,
I like
good
him.
good idea. I'm stealing that.
This is what we're melding minds right now. This is what it's happening.
Yeah.
You're capturing the demand that's already out there, basically. And honestly, when someone is just taking their bike out of the garage and they need a new chain and all that stuff, and bikes need tuning, obviously, if they've sat for 2 years, but they don't care necessarily like, okay, this is a heritage bike shop. They've been around 30, 40 years. What they care about is getting their bike fixed, and you're definitely capitalizing on that. You're not trying to tell some crazy story about your shop, which will probably matter to people who have been biking a long time. But for someone who's just getting into it, they just want to know that you can fix their bike. So that's a really, really good idea.
It's called Facebook Custom Audiences. Yeah, you can do that with any list of customers. You upload it as long as there are a couple points of customer identifiable data, at least name and or email address or phone number. They can even match on phone number now and postal address if you have that. Upload that, and then you can create targeted ads specifically for that group, and then you can create what you said, which is what they call a lookalike audience. They will automatically build a lookalike audience based on the information that you gave them and then all the other creepy data that Facebook collects about people.
Yeah, they can
You can
match
use that
interests.
to your advantage.
Yep. It kind of depends. It depends how you're measuring conversion. Like, it is tough, and I'm sure you could speak to this probably better than I can, but it depends how you're measuring that. If it's from getting them from online into your shop, it becomes a little bit tough. But again, that's where data capture is really important, because if you can match the data that they might give you in the shop to data that you used in your marketing and advertising, they can match that kind of stuff up. But even if you don't have that data, and I wanted to add this to the other point, data capture is obviously super important, but Facebook's really good at matching interests and things that are a little bit more obscure. So if you can target specific groups that might be relevant in your area, like if there's a local riding group, you can add those interests to your target audience, and they can match and find those people to market your ads to. So Facebook also owns Instagram, and you can run the same ad. It's called Business Suite, and you can create an ad that runs parallel, both. You make one ad, it'll run on Instagram and Facebook.
Is Facebook audience?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but if
I think I need to get like newer apps. I gotta get off Facebook now.
But ouch, ouch. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. But for the younger, if you want to target a different audience, I'm just saying Instagram would be your same thing, and you don't have to double down on the work. Is the point I was trying to make.
We don't have to dig too deep into revenue attribution, but that's a hallmark thing that we're always paying attention to, and we provide for our customers at Ascent 360, which is, we know you're spending a lot of money on reaching out to your customers, but we have a revenue attribution model built in, and if you're collecting 1 point of customer data when that person comes in and makes a purchase, then we're able to attribute and give you a platform where you can actually see what you're doing and what is making you money.
Did you have something to add?
That's the rule of thumb always, even with e-commerce. If you just want, that's why Amazon's Buy It Now button works so well. They don't have to go to a cart and do a whole bunch of extra stuff and add all their information. If their information was captured once, buy it now, and that's why that's so successful, is because it's so easy. And that's exactly what you need to do, is make it really, really easy for the person to buy or to find your shop or whatever your goal is. My other follow-up question is, are your ads, are you trying to generate leads, or are you trying to create awareness? They're measured very differently, and because you mentioned that you're reaching out from your ads, so are those ads providing leads to you? Is that how that's working, or how are you running that?
Yeah, essentially. So there's actually a couple different ways that I've done it, and I really like his point about donating bikes. So to specifically answer your question, I've done both, and what seems to work best for me in my situation is allowing the customer to say, hey, I'd like more information about this. So like essentially raising their hand and saying, I'm curious to know what you want, like what you do, where you're at, what's your phone number, how can I get in contact with you, and then sending them that information. It's all automated, so like I don't have to touch any of it, but when the customer reaches out and says, yes, I'm interested, I send them an automatic message that says, hey, here's who we are, here's what we do, here's our phone number, here's our address, give me a call or show up, and we're happy to help. So back to this other point of like donating bikes, I've now started running ads for bike donations. So what we're doing is, if you donate one bike, we give you a free tune-up. So, and that's where I love your question, like used bikes, that's 100% of my sales are in used bikes. Like we don't sell new bikes. and because I don't really technically have a full storefront, like we're literally running out of the backyard right now, and I'm working into a storefront, so that's our business name is Backyard Bike Geeks. And so like people will donate a bike, and then I will give them a free $60 tune-up, so much I charge for tune-ups, and they love it, and I get a bike that I can now turn around and sell to another customer, or we work with the community too and get back.
Genius.
Anyone else have some out-of-the-box ideas, something you've done that you're willing to share that has proved successful? Because this, I mean, just this kid, yeah.
I don't mean to like jump in again, but I feel like I came in the middle of a conversation about emails, and you guys were asking like, how are we collecting emails? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So the way that it works in our shop is as soon as the customer shows up, I send them what we call the intake form, and it's all on the intake form. The customer fills it out. I don't have to worry about anything. And my team all has access to that through QR codes that are attached to the bike when the customer comes in. So the customer will come in, they'll fill out a link that I send them, and they fill it out, they put their information, and then the second page is the bike's information, and all of that's email, phone number, address, everything that, and they don't even think twice about it because it's just like the process. There's no other option.
Well, for service, yeah, you're selling bike service and tune-ups, right? Yeah, so like, that totally makes sense. It's a little bit more difficult when someone comes in to just like buy a tube. It's like, hey, you bought a tube, fill out all this information. But obviously when you're providing service and you need to contact them about their bike, it's a little bit different. I think service that's a no-brainer. You should absolutely be getting all of their information if they're leaving their bike with you. It's a little bit tougher at like a point of sale situation, but yeah, he's good.
I know. You're on the panel next time.
Yeah, invite him.
No, Rob, just touching on getting that information again.
Sure.
Yeah.
What we had talked about was a shift of mind at the register for collecting the email address, and there's trepidation sometimes to ask a customer for their email address at the register because we're afraid of getting rejected, or we're afraid of sounding intrusive, or we're afraid of pissing that customer off right at the point that they've bought something wonderful, even if that something is a tube. And I was speaking to a California bike dealer, and his technique was a shift of mind. Instead of we're collecting to talk to his employees about, which is we're not collecting an email so that we can blast everybody with emails that they're not interested in. We're collecting that because we're all about customer service, and we want to be able to reach out to that person based on their interests. We want to be able to reach out to that person based on what they've purchased, so that we can provide them with valuable content and good information and suggest things to them, whether that's a purchase or a ride, that they're going to be interested in. And when that shift of mind happens with you and your employees, it becomes much easier to ask. It becomes a natural part of the transaction. And then you're able to build up that history of customer data so that you'll know that this customer who came in for service at one point also came in and has loaded up on stands recently. And that's their preferred sealant.
I want to loop back to the loyalty. You're thinking about starting a loyalty program? You're developing it. How to do it. Right. Philip, you have a loyalty program? No. Anyone have one that's working right now well?
We have one. It works. I wouldn't say it's great. We use Third Shelf. Integrates with Lightspeed. It's cheap, and it definitely pays for itself. I don't remember how many customers we have in our database, but I think it's $18 a month. And we have different tier levels set up. The customers get certain, like at so many points they get a free inner tube. They get so many points they get like a free nutrition pack. They're just different things like that get them in the door. And 9 times out of 10 they buy something else when they're getting their free inner tube. So.
Yeah, back to liking wine. I get $5 off every time I spend so much, so it works for me. I always go there. Rob?
I'll tell you a little story. We used to have a loyalty program built into Ascent 360 that measured dollars and then gave customers credit for using that. And we had a few clients that were using it, some big brands and retailers that you might know of. And we don't run loyalty like that anymore. It's not a dollars or points program. We consider loyalty to be earned by the service that you give your customers, and then with the right platform, if you can be communicating to those high value customers and you understand what that threshold is, it might not just be how much money they've spent with you, but that they keep coming back, or maybe it is a dollar threshold that they need to be for lifetime spend. Create a customized communication then to go out to them, congratulating from reaching that certain point, and if you want to include an offer in that, do it. But make it a customized offer based on who they are. What we've noticed is fewer people are interested in trying to compete on price and dollars and points, and more are interested in offering their customers, a way to interact them and rewarding them for being good customers, but being able to control that more tightly.
I like the thought that it doesn't have to be a dollar. It could be just that they come in. They're the customer. For me, it was the customers who are just coming in and hanging out and always in the store. Those are my loyal customers, right? Does anyone have a door counter? Does anyone track people coming in and out of the shop? I heard that was a really good tool also to use for scheduling, and so you know when to have the right people on. Has anyone modified their hours over the past 20 months or so? Yeah. Has anyone closed an extra day? Yeah.
I think it's funny you said that, because I went to Lightspeed and went with our data from freaking months, years, and days and hours, and I've never yet been able to come up with anything that tells me exactly. If you really pinpoint it, like Wednesdays are supposed to be bad, and then when you really look at the numbers, you're like, well, not this month. This month, it was, and the next month it was Thursday, and which is nice because you automatically hear things you think, oh, Wednesdays are just bad, or Tuesdays, right, or Mondays. Like, we don't ever close. We're open 7 days a week. I don't know why anybody would close on a Sunday. It's the number 2 selling day, in the week, but yet every shop around me is closed on a Sunday. But when you look at our numbers, our number 2 selling day every week is going to be a Sunday, almost guaranteed. But if you don't know that, you hear, you're like, oh, well, that's just a slow day, or oh, that's what, Mondays are. But when you have all that data, come to find out, like, every day is a good selling day. I debated more and more. Should I close a day? Should I close a day? Every time I look at the numbers, I'm like, I can't even choose hours. Better yet, a day. Because it's, I think especially with bikes, right? Like, you have no idea when that customer is going to get off, buy that one item that costs $1,000 or more, right? And that could be almost an entire day. In reality, I mean, it's trying to guess that it's just insane.
I was talking to a bike retailer the other day, and I think they were closed on Tuesday. And I said, why are you closed on Tuesday? He said, because our competition is closed on Monday. And that's why.
Be open on Monday and Sunday. It's because every single shop around me is closed on a Sunday. Before I knew this, right? I'm like, why would I be closed on a Sunday when everybody else is closed? Right? So you're at least guaranteed those customers that are there.
Right. And this goes really back to something I say all the time, and a point you made earlier: removing barriers. If you're closed, they can't buy. It's pretty simple. Enable customers to purchase whenever they feel like it. If you're closed, obviously you're not going to make sales. So.
You go on Amazon any day and get some of these products.
Yeah.
Most of them would rather just not wait a day. They want it immediately.
They're going to go somewhere else.
So if they can walk in and just grab something, at the end of the day, how often they buy something else when they're in there, right? They go, oh, right. So it doesn't always work, but most of the time it seems to.
That's why your shop's in the back of the store.
Yeah, the best parts are in the back, right?
Well, at the Big Gear Show, one of the most engaged people in the audience said he moved his shop to the front.
Really?
And yeah, I forgot what the point was, but he said that because ever since we moved the shop to the front of the store, we get a lot more sales and engagement with the customers, and they were upselling like while people were watching them work on the bikes. Yeah.
That's great. That's a good story.
So many good tips. Anyone else have anything that you want to share or ask the experts? I can talk about wine. No, I'm joking. Anyone have anything else to share? There has to be something. Yeah.
Anybody opening a coffee shop or a brewery with their shop?
I had a friend who did that. He sold espresso and had a bike shop at the same time.
I know 10 that are doing it now, either coffee or beer or both.
I can't recommend that as a business strategy, but it's definitely fun.
I'll come.
So Colton, back to e-com and websites and working with brands that sell direct to consumer. Any pro tips that you might parting pro tips?
I've got a few. I think the simplest thing that I can say is don't compete with your brands. Be partners with your brands. That is the recurring theme of everything that we do at Quivers. Leverage your brands as much as you can. They spend a bunch on marketing. Capitalize on that. Work with your brands. I do have a follow-up question to this. How many of your brands rolled out any sort of program to support you guys, whether it be through the pandemic or the last couple of years, special programs that brands have rolled out, like kickback or anything they have, Phil? Which program? What was it based on?
We've had several, actually, because when we go back to when we first started and we talked about being a referral business, we chose the brands that we curated all of our brands right from the beginning, and we made everybody, when we go through the process of opening a new brand or working with somebody, we tell them up front that we plan on being a partner. In some cases, we actually have that written in the language. Even with our contract with Bianchi, we have that written in. And so my rep asks me, what events do I have coming up? What's going on? What can I do to bring bikes down to you? And we've had stuff where we just had one where my kids love washing bikes. Don't know why. We got 5 or 6 kids in the neighborhood to come in with them, and we had a bike washing day. Bianchi showed up and ran a barbecue that day. It's all they brought. They brought a barbecue, bought all the food, did nothing. They didn't have a single bike with them, except that the rep was there talking the stuff, and we sold 6 bikes that day. It's because it was just kids washing bikes. That was all we advertised, and Bianchi was going to have free, hot dogs and stuff out there. But we do stuff where we get the main thing that we try to do is to get the brand to care about us. If the brand cares how much I sell, they want to find stuff, they know that I'm looking for a size 53, whatever, I'll get a call and say, hey, I was just at this other shop, they've had one sitting around for a while, you still need it? Yeah, I want that. All right, here's the owner, here's on the phone, it's done. So by getting the partners, they're willing to help us do better at our business. And so that's really where we focus a lot of our relationships, and just making sure that we're on the same page all the time. And it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of phone calls, but they're on our side all the time versus just sort of a rep showing up and a whatever. My reps very rarely visit my store, but I talk to them on the phone all the time.
Let's be really clear. All your brands definitely want you to sell more. So it's in their best interest that you're happy. So if you suggest a tool to them, hey, what if we try this? It'll help us sell more. There's a very good chance that they will listen.
It's two ways. It's not passive. I have to ask for things.
Yeah.
But I get them thinking of ways to up what we're selling.
Yeah. And if you present them ways that they can support you, they will probably be pretty receptive. Quivers. But I'm just saying that if you present an idea to them, they're like, hey, if this is a program that's going to really help our shop, we're going to sell more wholesale and therefore buy more wholesale. Yeah, they're going to listen. They will help you for sure. And like I said earlier, this is collaborative. If you collaborate with your brands, leverage their marketing, their website, any programs that you can present to them, there's a very good chance that they're going to be receptive to that. And that's the best advice I can give, is to work together with brands. Just because they're selling direct doesn't make them your enemy. There are ways that you can partner with them.
I love the bike washing idea. That sounds fun.
Now, they like suggested it. They just enjoyed whatever, like on a weekend day when we were outside. I'm lucky that our building's like a high bay warehouse, so we can wash. We have a big wash station like right outside the back door, and we're in Southern California.
There's a brand
so
or two here that would
sunny.
like to partner with you on the materials to wash bikes.
Sure,
No,
yeah.
I'm doing the barbecue next time.
Yeah, do the barbecue next time. And we can bring wine for the adults.
Wine, yeah. Rob, any pro tips with data and communicating with your customers?
Well, Colton mentioned leveraging the relationship with the brand, and for me, it's also about leveraging. It's about leveraging your assets, and one of them are the brands that you work with. The other one are your customers themselves, and the data that they're providing you on a daily basis by how they buy, and your relationship with them is paramount. You can actually leverage that treasure that you have in order to send people the right message at the right time, the kind of information they're actually interested in order to them endear them to your store and help build that customer relationship and help it continue.
Thank you. I thought this was an amazing session. I learned a lot. I'm really thankful for everyone who participated. Come up and ask questions. We are officially at the closing time. Does anyone have anything else to add, though, before we shut it down? No. Thank you. Really great next time you are on the panel, actually. Thank you, everyone.
Really good
See you
stuff.
at happy
Thank you
hour
all.
tonight. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing all your ideas. I learned a lot.